Hi everyone, a warm welcome to all the participants in today's webinar. This is our 9th webinar in our talk series. And I see a few new names and new faces here. So for those who are not here earlier, just a little bit about Rtambhara. Rtambhara is a wellness company that looks at wellness in a holistic way, not just the body, but the mind as well. And all this through the practice of knowledge and wisdom that comes from our ancient Indian scriptures. Our topic delve into self-discovery, personal transformation, health, as well as the arts and crafts which help connect us with our higher selves. So today we have for you Shri Ashit Ghosh, our Chief of Faculty, who will be talking on the Life's Calling, Wake Up. Short profile on Shri Asitji. He drives the relationship between spirituality and business at Rtambhara. Asitji is an accomplished corporate trainer with an experience of over 2 decades. He uses multiple techniques, including spiritual modules. Asitji has led several national and international retreats, and he's trained under Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, and many others. He comes with the newest developments on the spiritually oriented wellness and healing programs. He's one of our lead facilitators at Rtambhara and our chief of faculty here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a talk by him for 45 minutes, and we'll follow that up with a Q&A for 15 minutes, which will be moderated by Shri Asitji himself. Through the talk, you will all be muted, and please stay muted, otherwise there's too much ambient sound. And feel free to post your questions and answers, questions on the chat function, and Asitji will go through them and answer them one by one. And if you'd rather ask your question personally, then please hold on. After Asitji finishes with all the chat questions that are posted, he'll take the other questions. So on to you, Asitji.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I can see a lot of pictures. Some of them are without pictures. Nevertheless, I'm pretty excited, super excited to be with you this evening. And just a moment, we'll set the screen right, because the whole thing is basically on the PowerPoint. Okay. So here we go. We have a topic, Life's Calling, Wake Up. When anyone hears this topic, it appears to be a misnomer. Life's calling? Whom is life calling? Is life calling me? How many lives are there? So there are so many questions that arise, and one tends to get a little confused about what is this topic, life is calling. And those will be clear in a moment. So let's quickly dive in. Life has another name. Guess what is that name? Feel, think in your mind. What is another name of life? Another name of life is eternity. Eternal life is the real life, the original life. Eternity means there is no beginning, there is no end. There is no beginning, there is no end. Now the question arises, if life is eternity, then what is this life? What is this time between birth and death? That's not eternal. So what do we call this life? It's not an eternal life, so it could be a part of this eternity. So may we call it a phase in eternity? Now, in absence of a proper nomenclature, the phase in eternity, it sounds a little unclear. So let's define it as life situation. Now, one life which is calling life situation, the eternal life is calling the ephemeral life, and most of us belong to that ephemeral life because we are relating more to the time between birth and death. So we have two expressions of life. One life which is eternal. I'm sorry, let me remove this a little. Another life situation is ephemeral. Now, we have a few important points just to categorize these two from the viewpoint of their characteristics. When we are in eternal life, we are talking about freedom, but life situation refers to limits, not freedom. Eternal life refers to presence, the present moment, because there is no past, there is no future. Call it anadi, madhyantam. There is no adi, no madhya, no anta. So it is fully present. Unlike life situation, which is time-based, so it is dependent on past and future. Eternal life is characterized by faith and freedom, and life situation, fear and uncertainty. Look at the scenario today. All of us are affected by this. Now, eternal life is a state of wellness and ease. There is no disease mode. There is no illness mode. Eternal life is full of joy and bliss, but life situation is like a pendulum, dwindling between pleasure and pain most of the time. Life eternal is peace and cooperation, because this is oneness. And life situation has conflict and competition. There is a little spelling mistake, I'm sorry. And open oneness and separatedness. Now, when you look at these two, you have a little filler about what we are talking about when we are saying life is calling wake up. That wake up call is addressed to most of the people who are limited in the life situation and are not able to access fuller life, complete life. So between these two, it is very easy for us to comprehend which of these two life expressions is really in distress. Can eternal life be in distress? There is no possibility of that. So life situation is most likely to be in distress. So the next question, the next statement is by my master. I have been trained by one of the most profound authorities of the modern world, a great author, a great philosopher, Eckhart Tolle, and how beautifully executes this, which I have discussed so far. And he straight away asks you to forget about your life situation for a while and pay attention to your life. Now, how can we pay attention to eternal life from the realm of ephemeral life situation? Now, that is the objective of this talk today. How can we pay attention to eternal life from the realm of ephemeral life situation? And all these we will discuss in the context of the present scenario. This threatening situation humankind is facing today. In that context, we shall discuss this. Now, a small management jargon before we enter this. It says, if you want to resolve an issue, you got to look beyond the issue. So when we discuss this riddle, how to access life from a life situation, I shall take you beyond the box and create a metaphorical situation. Let me tell you a story, an old story. Many of you have heard this story, but those you have heard in the context of management training or personal development lectures or in the books and the literatures. But today, the same story I shall present again for you to look at in a broader context. So it's a story of an American village. An anthropologist went there to study the social behavior pattern of the indigenous people. So he met the children who were playing together and he called them. He proposed them to play a game to which they agreed. And then the anthropologist places a basket of fruits below a tree and keeps those children about 100 meters away and tells them, okay, you will start running towards the basket. The one who reaches first will have a total claim on all the fruits. And then he says, go. And a strange thing happens. The anthropologist sees all the children are holding hands with each other and running together, and they reach the basket together, then share all the fruits together, sat together, ate the fruit, and enjoyed for a long time. The anthropologist was surprised and asked, hey, why did you do this? And the children together shouted in their mother tongue something called Ubuntu, Ubuntu. Now that's a very powerful statement. What does Ubuntu mean? It means, how can one be happy when others are sad? It also means, I am because we are. At this moment, I am imparting this webinar because you all are there. So we are all connected. Now, pause a little and try to relate this story with the present scenario which is prevailing in the world. In today's discussion, I will have only 3 points. Only 3 points. We will review the situation, we will learn from the situation, and then we will consider what to change. So let's dive in straight. Review. Look at the world. Everywhere there are only 2 things. On one side you have the virus, on the other side immunity. The total discussion and all the work that's being done is around these 2 things. At this moment, the virus is strong and the immunity is weak. But everything is around these 2 things. Let's go deeper. Now, focus on the immunity, and I'm asking you a question. Forget about all external things. I'm asking you, what do you think is the most crucial internal factor that can weaken our immunity? What is it that weakens the immunity? Many of you have many ideas, but in the meantime, just read this quotation. The cells in your body react to everything that your mind says. Negativity brings down your immune system straight. The negative thoughts, negative behavior, negative habits, negative ideas, all are responsible to weaken your immunity system. Now, what is the mother of all negativities? We'll jump in straight. All negativities emanate from the human ego. Human ego is the mother, and it influences and creates all negative behavior. Impact on human ego on body. The research has found out human ego affects the whole human body in thousands of ways. Now, there are many ways the ego influences the human psyche. But in this context, as we are discussing the situation in the present context, I have only highlighted a few relevant areas where the ego influences the human psyche. One, it makes people greedy. Apply your mind and think how this has affected our world today. Ego creates over ambition, how it has affected the world today. Ego creates impulsive behavior. Rationality is lost and people work on whims. Very important, ego makes people irresponsible. Ego has a compulsive nature. Ego makes you unkind and finally angry. Now, these are the 7 ways, 7 prominent ways ego influences the human psyche. Now, when we talk about negative emotions and ego, it does not only work at individual level. It works collectively. The collective ego affects the overall environmental ecology. Well, individual ego affects the cellular biology. I refer 2 books which I have read a number of times, and I strongly recommend you can go through. These are brilliant work by 2 scientists. One is my favorite, Bruce Lipton, his famous book, Biology of Belief, where he has proved your thoughts are making you sick. And here is another person, Candace Pert. She is not there in the world, passed away a couple of years before. A tremendous work she has done, this neuroscientist. And she says, your mind is in every cell of your body. She has another brilliant book, which I have read. It's called Your Body is Your Unconscious Mind. Because all your habits are there in your cells. It's not in your brain. That's a prominent research work she has done, and she has been awarded for that. So everywhere in the TV and the newspaper, you read that it's not a war, it's a war against corona. Is it a war against corona? Corona is not a living being. It is a lifeless stuff. How can it be a war against corona? Actually, it's a war against our ego. So the emphasis needs to be shifted. And life is calling you to create the shift. Out of the 3 things, we have covered the review part. And let's explore what we are learning. First of all, everything happens for a reason. We have heard this. I'm sure all of you believe this. So what are we learning? We are learning that we are connected and we are responsible. That Ubuntu philosophy. It is also in the Indian philosophy, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which we have forgotten. We are all divided. We are all separated as separate entities, and we have forgotten our oneness. So the call of life is Ubuntu. We are all connected. The second learning is we need to align with Mother Nature. We have assaulted Mother Nature. We have exploited Mother Nature. And the whole thing that has happened in our life is a repercussions of that. And in the Indian philosophy, Mother Nature is often referred as Prakriti Shakti. And Prakriti is also referred as Chaitanya. And Chaitanya, closest translation in English, is consciousness. So when we are conscious, then we shall be able to align with Mother Nature. And the message is life is calling, wake up. These are the 3 learnings. So when we churn these 3 learnings, we get these three emphatic learning points. Live and let live. We all are connected. And these are the two. And then let's explore what changes we should make right now. There are two prime changes. We change at the attitude level and change at the action level. In the attitude level, the first change that we need to make is we have to build the acceptance culture enhance the acceptance mode. We have to enhance our awareness level. We have to build more gratitude into our system. These are the three prime changes that we need to make. We'll have a few more inputs on that. At the action level, we need to serve others. We need to cooperate. We need to work not only for us and for the community. And second action, we need to nurture nature. So these are the changes that we need to make. Let's go one by one quickly. When we talk about acceptance, let's quickly analyze the whole thing, what we mean by acceptance. The opposite of acceptance is resistance. A simple understanding of that, resistance is not acceptance, and acceptance is not resistance. So it's a regrettable feeling, resistance, everything that we resist. And acceptance is a welcoming feeling. So when you enhance our acceptance into our system, we will be more welcoming. Now, the influencing factors of resistance is past habits and future expectation, our subconscious habits. Influencing factor of acceptance is present moment awareness. When we enhance our present moment awareness, automatically our power of acceptance will be enhanced. A simple quotation by Carl Jung: we cannot change anything until we accept it. Now, second thing is awareness. Let's see what Eckhart Tolle has to say on awareness. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. Everything begins with awareness. If we really want to change our behavior, our attitude, our awareness has to be increased, and especially the present moment awareness. Acceptance, awareness, and finally, gratitude. Mr. Dale Carnegie used to say that gratitude is one thing that you need not be trained at. We all can be grateful, and used to say gratitude is attitude. Eckhart Tolle also says acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation of all abundance. So we need to be grateful to everything that we have in our life, and that will change our ways. So that has covered the attitudinal part, and at the action level, serve others. A small little poetry just to entertain you on service. Two lessons life, just a moment. Two lessons life teaches a man, one big, one small. To live for self is the smaller one, and the big is to live for all. It's not necessary to mention the name of the writer, because there are some authors whose books do not sell, so they bring their quotations and their poetries on this seminar. Life's calling: complete acceptance, awareness, gratitude, service, and now nurture nature. This is a very important change, and look at this statement: immunity is a bridge between your health and Mother Nature. Because if we serve Mother Nature, our internal immunity will be stronger, so the virus will be weakened. A whole bunch modern mental and life cycle disorders can vanish if we go into nature with a son-mother relation. That's beautiful. So I picked it up. And here are a few suggestions how to align with Mother Nature's. I have learned it from my master. So here are the three suggestions I would like to share with you. Spend every sunrise and sunset time with Mother Nature. That will change many things, including inner immunity. Spend a week in mountain, river, or jungle every year. Learn gardening, farming, tree plantation. When we practice these three, our alignment with Mother Nature will improve. Now, finally, I have a wonderful model to give it to you as a culmination of the whole discussion. Now, many of you have worked in organizations. Let us first take a common organization structure, and then we will relate it with something very relevant. CMD, or the owner of the company, is quite often holds this role of chairman cum managing director. He is the ultimate head. But the CMD does not run the organization. CMD brings in a general specialist, and upon the CEO, the whole responsibilities are delegated. The CEO happens to be the functional head. But CEO, once again, cannot run a vast organization. So there are unit heads who we call the GMs, who runs every unit. And under the GM, we have many specialists, but we have given two main aspects, which is called finance and HR. These are the two most important areas. And then we have R&D, operations, marketing, and we have the whole organizations down below. And in that organization, we have managers, executives, supervisors, staff. This is a common diagram of any organization. Now, our human body is also an organization. While we are talking about immunity, human body has a direct connection with the source. The source we may call God, or we may call Brahman, we may call whatever, the creator who has created the creation. I leave this blank for the time being because this is something very important while I come back. The source also delegates the power to someone. In the meantime, apply your mind and apply your heart to feel who is this delegation power head. And then at individual body level, we have soul or consciousness, which rules the whole body through the 7 chakras and various other things. But formally relating it with an organization, the two important things is the brain and the heart. And then we have lungs, stomach, kidneys, various other organs. All these are there. And then finally, we have system, organs, tissues, and cells. This is a whole body which also works as an organization created by the source, who is whole soul in charge. But the source does not directly run the organization. Source has created a system and delegated the power. Now, who is this power? Prakriti, Mother Nature. And she is the CEO who runs the whole world, whole organization. So Mother Nature is in direct control of our body. And that's how everything works out. And I call this a CEO model. So source is the Purush, who is the creator. Purush has brought Prakriti, the whole power center, to run the whole organization. An individual organization of the body is controlled by consciousness, and the consciousness controls the rest of the system, and the whole thing works. You got to see this CEO model in light of the immunity system. So this completes my presentation on Life is Calling. Wake up. Thank you.